And here they come.
Good afternoon and welcome. We ask that you keep your mics in mute and your cameras off during today's event. We'll give everyone a few minutes to join and we'll start. Thank you. Okay, good afternoon. I'm Nita Sharp, Director of Program Development at Chicago MSDC. On behalf of our President, Deborah Jennings Johnson, our Vice President, Jose Robles Michelina, and my colleague, Tony Hurley, we welcome you to Chicago MSDC's first Procurement Lunch and Learn of 2023, focusing on infrastructure. Every person in Illinois uses infrastructure, from brushing our teeth, taking the train to work, or going to the grocery store. Infrastructure is the backbone of our daily lives and communities. The importance and condition of our infrastructure has a real and direct impact. We all depend on roads and bridges to get us where we're going, pipes that deliver clean water to our taps, and a network of inland waterways, ports, rail, and transit to move goods and people. And these systems drive and improve our economy and our lives. The crossroads of our country's rail, air, roadway, and waterway systems run through Illinois, which provides our state with a unique, competitive, economic advantage that should be enhanced. From the Rebuild Illinois Capital Plan and low interest loans to the Federal Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, infrastructure funding has increased grades for several categories, while laying the critical foundation for investment in our future over the next decade. We cannot become complacent. There's still significant underinvestment in several categories that threaten our competitive advantage and economic development. We need to continue the momentum of infrastructure that drives our lives and the economy. And today's Lunch and Learn is part of Chicago MSDC's efforts to keep the momentum going. Our lineup includes opening remarks from our very own Congresswoman Kelly via video, since Congress is in session, SBA sharing on loan and certification options to help your business grow, along with IDOT procurement opportunities. As bonuses, IDOT's extended presentation shows steps to access IDOT's portal for business planning purposes. Also, contact information for Missouri's Department of Transportation, or MoDOT, will be dropped in chat for viewing of procurement opportunities in the state of Missouri, thanks to the Missouri Minority Business Development Agency, of which Chicago MSDC is the administrator. Just for attending today, these bonuses will be provided to you. Please be on the lookout for future infrastructure information sessions similar to this from Chicago MSDC. So let's get started. Congresswoman Robin Kelly. She was elected to serve in 2013, and she's worked to expand economic opportunity as well as champion numerous initiatives to generate job growth. Congresswoman Kelly is a member of the House Energy and Commerce Committee, the main policy writing body of the House, and serves on several committees. Her energy and commerce work includes economic development. She is the daughter of a small business owner and postal worker. Prior to her election to Congress, she was a member of the Illinois House of Representatives. So now, via video, here's Congresswoman Robin Kelly, and please adjust your volume accordingly. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Congresswoman Robin Kelly, and I'm happy to be speaking to you today about the critical infrastructure investments that will help our communities thrive. I am thrilled that so much federal funding from the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act is being delivered to Illinois. Whether it is reducing commute times in our cities, removing lead pipes from suburban schools, or increasing access to high-speed internet in our rural communities, every single person in Illinois is seeing the tangible benefits of this bipartisan infrastructure legislation. I am so proud to represent every one of these communities, urban, suburban, and rural, in a district that is rich with diversity. I could go on for hours about the benefits that this bill will bring to our communities, but I will only take a minute to name some of the highlights. Illinois will receive over $10 billion to revitalize our highways and bridges and ensure that drivers, cyclists, and pedestrians can commute and travel safely across our state. Illinois residents who use public transit will see improvements in our bus and rail systems with a $4 billion grant that will repair, replace, and expand transit options across the state. School children and vulnerable populations who lack access to clean drinking water will receive nearly $2 billion to replace pipes and improve water infrastructure. The estimated 228,000 Illinois residents who do not currently have reliable internet access will receive more than $100 million to access expanded broadband networks. This legislation is also crucial in our fight against climate change, specifically to ensure that we address this crisis with just and equitable solutions. We know that African American communities, Latino communities, and indigenous communities bear the brunt of the pollution, illness, rising energy costs, and severe weather events that come from climate change. I will continue to work to reverse this injustice and ensure that Black and Brown communities have the resources they deserve to not only survive but thrive as we rebuild and strengthen the foundations of our daily lives. This legislation doesn't just imagine a country that is better for our children, it provides the tools we need to build it from the bottom up and the middle out. The benefits of this bill have already reached so many Illinois families, and I'm committed to seeing every dollar reach my district equitably and with an eye toward the future. Thank you so much to the Chicago MSDC for inviting me today, and I look forward to speaking with you again soon.
Welcome again, everyone. My name is Tony Hurley, and I'm a member of the Chicago MSDC staff. I serve as the manager in the certification department, and I am assisting with today's meeting. We're grateful to Congresswoman Robin Kelly for sharing that valuable information with us today, and I truly hope that each of you will have a takeaway from what she has shared and that you're already thinking about how this could be beneficial to your business. Next, I would like to introduce Charlie White. Charlie started in SBA lending in 1999 with Marine Bank in their preferred lending provider department. Since that time, Charlie has worked for 3 different SBA certified development companies in Illinois and worked for 2 different lenders, obtaining PLP status and serving as the SBA officer for both. Charlie has been working for SBA for the past 5 years as the Central and Southern Illinois Lender Relations Specialist. Charlie, this virtual stage is now yours.
Hopefully it's coming up now.
Yes, your screen's popped up. Put it in presentation mode.
Yes, we can see it.
So we're good to go on the slideshow.
No, we need you to put it in presentation mode.
It looks like it's in presentation mode.
Click down at the bottom, Charlie. Get
Yep.
a little icon.
Is it not? Yeah, I did. Is it not
is
now?
not. No, it is
Okay.
not.
Hold on.
Okay, you're set.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Briefly, I'd like to say that the purpose of SBA is to provide access to capital for underserved markets, veterans, minorities, etc. Due to our limited time today, this presentation is going to be very basic and only cover the broad strokes. So with that in mind, what are the eligibility requirements to obtain an SBA loan? You have to be organized for profit. You have to be located in the United States. You have to be considered small by the regulatory size requirements. Owners must be of good character, so your credit scores, your personal credit scores will come into play. And above all else, the company will have to demonstrate its ability to repay the loan that you are requesting. The final requirement involves credit available elsewhere. Hopefully, the lender you're dealing with will have already assessed that particular measure, and if not, they will contact me to help take care of that for you. So in regards to size standards, there are several different industries that we have: the manufacturing, wholesaling, servicing, retailing, and general construction. Those are just general requirements that you can fall under to count for the size standard, but the catch-all is the alternate size standard. The alternate size standard is the company plus all of its affiliates has to have a tangible net worth of less than $15 million, and that your after-tax income average over the last 2 years has to be less than $5 million. I believe at last tally, 98% of all businesses in the United States qualified as small under the SBA size requirements. So speaking in really broad terms, SBA in particular has two loan programs. Their catch-all loan program, which is the 7A loan program. Within the 7A, a lot of you probably remember the PPP loan program, but it is our umbrella program that almost encompasses everything. The other program that we have is the 504 loan program, and it is specifically for fixed assets only, which is real estate and heavy machinery and equipment. Both programs have a maximum loan amount. On the 7A, it's $5 million. On the 504, it is $5 million, but in many cases, it can go up to $5.5 million. They do have particular rate structures. The interest rate is set by the bank on the 7A. The interest rate on the 504 is set by the debenture sale that they use to fund these. And the debenture sales recently have been going around 5%. So that would be a fixed rate for the length of the loan, which could be a 25-year fixed rate. Down payment, both of them you're looking at around 10% as a general requirement. Collateral on a 7A, to protect taxpayer dollars, they will look to secure it with any means necessary. On the 504 loan program, since it's for fixed assets, typically it'll be just the fixed assets being financed. So what are your eligible use of loan proceeds? As I mentioned before, on the 504, it's strictly fixed assets, but on the 7A, you can do almost anything that you can think of. You can even do fixed assets with the 7A. Renovate your facility, construct a commercial building, working capital, change of ownerships, and one that's used the most frequent is to refinance your existing debt. Now, the easiest and best way to contact or reach out to lenders if you're struggling or don't have a contact with a local lending institution is to go to sba.gov/lender match. It is kind of like match.com for people, only we're connecting lenders with businesses. There's a series of 20 questions that you will fill out. You'll fill out your geographic area. And based on that information, it will be sent to lenders that have asked to see information for that area based on the answer to your 20 questions. If there is no lender that has requested that, or there is no lender response, it goes to the Small Business Development Center. The Small Business Development Center will reach out to you individually and help with you to improve your application to become more bankable. As far as loan maturities go, the loan maturities are all based on what the use of proceeds is for. So working capital and inventory could go up to 10 years. Fixed assets, obviously 25 years, fixed assets being machinery, equipment, and real estate. If there's some less than 10% of furnitures and fixtures of the project, we have no problem having that rolled into the loan. And whenever you're doing a refinance, it's going to be based on what the original purpose was for the loan to determine the length of the loan. As I mentioned previously, most cases you're looking at a 10% equity injection. If you're a startup, startups are businesses that are less than 2 years old. If you are doing a debt refinance and you have been in existence over 2 years, then it can be a 100% refinance for you. The one thing I will tell you is that unlike the other programs that were recently released through the pandemic, there will be personal guarantees on SBA loans, and to that effect, any 20% or more owner will have to guarantee the loan personally. That concludes my section. It was kind of a very high level review of the general SBA stuff. And at this point, I will hand it back over.
Thank you so much, Charlie, for sharing that information. We truly appreciate it. I would just like to remind the audience that if you have questions, we will hold those until the end, and we ask that you put those questions in the chat so that we can address as many of those as possible when we get to that point of the meeting. Our next presenter is Rosalind Putman, who serves as the Supervisory Business Opportunity Specialist at the Illinois District Office of the U.S. Small Business Administration. The SBA is a federal agency that helps small businesses start, grow, expand, and recover. SBA aids small businesses through the guarantee of loans, surety bonds, certification, advocacy, and business development assistance. Rosalind is responsible for managing and leading the Business Development Division of SBA's Illinois District Office. Rosalind also assists companies in certifying in SBA's contractual program, 8A Business Development, Hub Zone, and Woman-Owned Small Business Economically Disadvantaged WOSB programs, as well as providing counseling, training, and contract assistance. Rosalind manages a client portfolio base of 78 firms that are certified in 8A BD programs for Illinois. A longtime SBA employee, Rosalind holds a Bachelor of Science degree in marketing from Wilberforce University. So without further ado, I would like to bring you Rosalind Putman.
Ms. Rosalind, we need you to unmute.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm unmuted now. Okay, thank you so much, Tony, for that warm welcome. You kind of covered everything about SBA, so I really don't need to say anything about SBA because Tony has already said it. With that, again, my name is Rosalind Putman, and I serve as a supervisory business opportunity specialist with SBA at the Illinois District Office. So today, as you can see from Charlie, we have streamlined our presentations. And as a result of that, you're going to get the streamlined presentation. Can everyone hear me fine?
We can hear you, but we can't see you, Rosalind.
Oh, okay. You want to see me? I'm sorry. Here I am.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. Okay. All right. So let me get back here and get started here. Okay. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the, I knew this was going to happen. I could barely see my screen at the top. Are you a small business? So questions that most of you know. For the government, we determine size by your size standard, which Charlie's touched on a little bit. The business type, either sole proprietor, partnership, corporation, your location, you should be in the US. Average number of employees, that's refers with size as well. Primary operation outside of US, you are not qualified, will be non-qualified for US, and non-for-profit businesses are not considered. Okay. So here we talk about your NAICS code. The government defines what you do by your industry, which is a 6-digit code. To do business with the government, you need to know what your NAICS code is. Again, that is a 6-digit number based, and if you're not sure what it is, you can go to www.next.org or www.census.gov. Okay, here's a question that you have to ask yourself. Are you ready to do business with the government? And a key question is, does the government buy what you sell? I know people sometimes think as a business owner, I have this great product or service. But you want to make sure the government is buying what you're selling. Do you have any federal contracting experience? Do you have cash available, inventory, working capital? Are you capable of fulfilling government contracts? Do you know the laws? You need to know the FAR regulations. Do you know where to find contracting opportunities? I'm going to share all that information with you on today. Going to talk about how the government buys goods and services. And the government buys in 3 key areas: full and open contracts, small business set-asides, and sole source. As you all know or may not know, the government is the largest buyer of goods and service. The government spends over $500 billion a year on products and services, and 23% of that should go to small businesses in various categories. So full and open is the playing field for everyone, large and small businesses. The government not only just buys small businesses, services or products, but large businesses as well. So the government looks at full and open, that's one of the contracting. Set-asides, has to be a rule or 2, at least 2 companies are interested. Then subcontracting limitations, and then there's the sole source component. So under sole source would be one particular small business would get that contract, and that's allowed under certain small business contracting and business development programs, such as the 8A program. Now for women owned, there still has to be, they kind of still look at 2. For Hub Zone, if it is, if you are that particular company, the only one that provides that service, then that's different. But generally, under the 8A program is the only sole source. Okay. So here are the target goals that are set for the social economic programs. The government has to spend at least 5% with women. Overall, for small disadvantaged businesses, 8A included here, is 12%, for Hub Zone at least 3%, and service-disabled veterans at least 3%. Set-asides are reserved for small businesses between $3,500, which are micro purchases, and up to $250,000 under the simplified acquisition threshold. So you want to make sure when you're doing business with the government, know what the agency buys, that product or service that particular agency buys. Well, how do I find that out? USA Spending. That's where you can find that out. Find your niche. What makes you different? Think about that. You want to stand out. What makes you different? Focus on that. Make sure that's in your capability statement. Understand the areas of government spending. I talked about US spending. That's where you want to, that's where you see what all the government has spent and is spending. Know your competition and their contracts. So who had the contract before? USA Spending showed you that as well. Know your competition. You kind of, most of you know who you're competing against, but know your competition. That's very important. You want to stand out. You want to get yourself in front of the people that are important. How do I do that? You can call and make an appointment. We're all federal employees. You want to be connected with a small business specialist. Generally, you don't get directly in front of the contracting officer. They have representatives, which are called either deputy small business managers, small business specialists, small business liaisons. These are the people that kind of get you, that you have to speak to first in order to get moving in the government. It's not like you go directly to the contracting officer. And then you want to submit your bid. You want to submit that invitation to bid. But before you do all of that, you have to be registered in this database called SAM, System for Award Management. It is a free database where large and small businesses are listed. So it's not just for small businesses, but it's for large businesses. You want to get your UEI number. That replaced that D&B number. We don't use, the government no longer use the Dun and Bradstreet number. It has been replaced by the UEI number, and you can go to SAMS. You will be generated that number. It's not just a number you have automatic. You'll be generated that number. You want to register in that system. Is sam.gov, www.sam.gov, and then you want to make sure you get your cage code. That number too is generated to you via SAMS. Where do I search for opportunities? That sam.gov has pretty much everything. That's also where you search for federal opportunities over $25,000. In that database, you can see as well, based upon a NAICS code for your search, you can see what agencies are buying what. You can go directly to agencies as well and find out. So you want to make sure you tap into this database to see who's buying what they're buying. This is where all federal opportunities over $25,000 is listed. So this is it. So I'm going to start talking a little bit about the 8A program. So what are some of the benefits? What do you get from this program? Access to business development support. You are assigned a business opportunity specialist to work with you for your 9-year tenure in the program. Along with, we have resource partners that will also work with you under our small business development centers, our procurement technical assistance centers. Now, don't anyone tell them their name has changed, and I don't know it properly, so I don't want to say it. They've kind of changed their name. But anyway, these are resource partners as well as SCORE. You will build capacity and grow through contracts. Under the 8A program, there are contracts set aside specifically for firms in this program on a sole source basis and on a competitive basis. So up to 4.5 million can be sole source to a small business under this program, and anything over that is advertised on that sam.gov. This is a one-time 9-year program. So to apply for the program, you have to go to SBA certification portal, which is www.certified.gov, certified.sba.gov. And everything is online. The old-fashioned days of sending the applications are gone. Everything is done electronically online. So this program, the 8A program, is governed under 13 CFR Part 124. In that regulation, it tells you everything you need to know from the beginning to the end about the program. Talks about ownership, control, potential for success, your character, contract information, small business programs. So this particular regulations governs the program, as well as you want to know about, you want to make sure, when I talked about, I mentioned FAR earlier. So you want to make sure you know where information is, regulatory related to just federal small business contractors is under FAR Part 19, but specifically FAR Part 19.8 talks about the 8A contracts. Okay. All right, this is the women-owned program. So under this program, you want to take advantage of annual prime contracting goals. I mentioned that the women has a 5% goal. I believe it's 5% goal. You're going to build capacity and growth through this program, through those contracts. And then there's contracts that access set-asides for WSB and EDWSB as well. So there are contracts that are set aside specifically under this program as well. So here's some of the requirements for this. Oops, sorry. Took it too fast. Here's some of the requirements under this program. The woman has to own 51% ownership of the company. She has to be the highest officer paid. There's NAICS codes associated with this particular program. She has to have the managerial experience and manage the day-to-day operations of the company. But here's the best part. There's no minimum time in business. So if you meet these requirements, you want to consider, for all the ladies on the program, women on the program that are in business that have not seeked out this program, please look into it and make sure if you meet these qualifications, you may want to consider this program. Okay. Under the ED, economic development portion of the WSB program, your personal net worth cannot exceed $850,000 coming in the program. That is increased. It was $750,000. So there's been an increase on that. Your 3-year average income has to be $400,000 or less, and your personal assets cannot exceed $6.5 million coming into the program or in total while you're in the program completely. Now we will exclude your IRAs, your equity in your primary residence, but after that, your personal assets cannot exceed the 6.5 million, or net worth, I'm sorry. Okay. So now we're going to talk about the Services Able Veteran-Owned Small Business Program. So that's qualified for set-aside opportunities as well. Your company builds capacity and grows as well, and you can establish joint ventures under this program. So these are the requirements for that particular program. Okay, 51% ownership, highest officer position, proper NAICS code, managerial experience, and your manage the daily operations of the business. And then the Hub Zone program, historically underutilized business zone. This program was created to stimulate capital investment, build capacity and grow, access Hub Zone set-aside contracts, dollars. There are contracts that are set aside as well under the Hub Zone program. So here are the requirements under the Hub Zone program. 51% ownership by U.S. citizen. The principal office must be located in historically underutilized business zone. SBA, if you go to sba.gov/HubZone, we have a map that would show you if your company, you put in your address, it'll show you if your company is in a hub zone. Under that program, we require at least 35% of the employees reside in a hub zone. You have to be small. Hub zone location, you just review the hub zone location when you go to that map that'll show you. Okay, so here's some resources that are available for you or to you. SBA has some resources, business opportunity specialists as myself, Procurement Center representative, that is someone that are assigned to federal agencies to work directly on behalf of the small businesses in conjunction to opportunities at that specific agency. Procurement Technical Assistance Centers, they provide government contracting assistance. These are resource partners, consulting and workshops and information and resources. For marketing resources, FedBiz Ops, that was replaced by now what is basically beta.sam.gov, or you can just get it from sam.gov. The Federal Procurement Data System for Award Management, which is SAMS, Dynamic Small Business Search. Now, Dynamic Small Business Search is SBA's database of all small businesses. In that database, that's where only small businesses are listed. So agencies can go to that website if they are looking for small businesses for specific contracts, or other small businesses if they're looking to considering teaming or joint venturing with another small business, they can also search that database. Then SBA has a subcontracting networking system called SEPNet. Other resources, I talked about a little bit about USA Spending. That's where all the spending is listed. GSA has a subcontracting directory, and DoD Prime contracting directory as well. So DoD has a contracting directory as well. And that concludes my presentation. Here is my contact information. SBA has moved. We are no longer located at 500 West Madison. We have moved to 332 South Michigan, Suite 600. Our phone numbers all remain the same. However, we're waiting on our occupancy with the city. So hopefully we'll be in there within the next 2 weeks. And at that time, we'll start receiving clients again. But right now, everyone is virtually working remotely at home. So thank you for your attention. And if you have questions, as mentioned, please put them in the chat. Okay.
Thank you so much for sharing that great information, Rosalind. I'm talking about jam-packed with information and truly informative. I'm sure everyone will agree. Audience, please remember, if you have questions for Rosalind, those can be put in the chat. So please do that at this time. Our final presenter for today's program is John Basic. John has been employed with the Illinois Department of Transportation for over 30 years after receiving his Bachelor of Science degree in Civil Engineering from Bradley University. He has worked in the Bureaus of Construction, Design, and Programming in District 1, which covers the 6-county Chicago metropolitan area. He is currently the Program Development Engineer, where he provides overall direction to the preparation of the district's annual and multi-year proposed highway improvement programs. In addition, John oversees all activities associated with the preliminary engineering phases of projects, including engineering and environmental planning documents, contract plans, specifications and estimates, agreements with governmental agencies, railroads and utility companies, and the purchase of right-of-way. John, you may take the stage.
All right, well, thank you, Tony and Nita, as well as Clifton for all your tech support. Before I jump into this, can you see my presentation in presentation mode? Does it look okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, great. And again, thank you to the entire Chicago Minority Supplier Development Council. Opportunity is knocking. That's what we're here about. The co-presenters have provided so much information about all the federal opportunities. While IDOT Illinois is not spending $500 billion per year, we certainly have some billions to spend, and we're looking forward to doing, presenting it. I'm looking forward to sharing that information with you, and then I'll go over some slides at the very back of the presentation that will be shared afterward that'll help you navigate some of our websites information to get to those opportunities. So I got my overview is going to provide a kind of a general presentation of what we do, our overall program. We have an Illinois program that we are going to cover, as well as a federal program that we're going to cover, and then also some construction projects that are kind of high on the list of priorities, and we'll kind of get into that shortly. So let's recap what happened with the passage of the Governor's Rebuild Illinois Capital Program in 2019. It was the first truly multimodal capital program in history, and the largest capital program, as well as largest capital program in history. The projects that were, the funding that we got was $25.3 billion for highways. We had $4.5 billion for mass transit, $1.1 billion for rail, and then $679 billion for miscellaneous transportation opportunities. We had $558 million for aeronautics. There was $492 million for CREATE, which is another railroad-related, freight rail specifically, program, and then $312 million in railroad grade crossing protection, and then $150 million in ports. So, why is that important? Congresswoman Kelly mentioned this. Illinois is and I think Nita also mentioned it. Well, Illinois is a transportation hub and crossroads of the United States. Highways and rails all converge here. There's waterway links between the Great Lakes and Gulf of Mexico. We have numerous airports around the state, including O'Hare, which prior to COVID had regained the title as the busiest airport in the U.S. And we have one of the largest transit systems in the U.S. The capital program is going to invest in all these modes, and it's going to create thousands of jobs, and these investments in infrastructure are going to spur other investments in our state. And bottom line, this was the roadmap for us to recover through infrastructure. So if $33.2 billion over 6 years was not enough, the passage of the Federal Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, IIJA, in Illinois is estimated to receive about $17.8 billion in combined infrastructure funding over 5 years for all modes of transportation, including roads and bridges, passenger rail, public transportation, airports, and bicyclists, as well as pedestrian accommodations. The act is focused on climate and equity to provide safe and resilient multimodal transportation options. And as very similar to the Illinois program, this federal program mirrors that. So we're investing in all modes. From the $17.8 billion that the Division of Highways is anticipating to receive, $11.2 billion of that will be used to develop our highway multi-year program or plan. This includes roughly $1.4 billion for bridge repairs and replacements, and which is ultimately about a 30% increase in the amount of federal funding year over year that we typically receive. 2/3 of our program has been and will continue to be towards maintaining the roads and bridges we have, and then for projects that are above and beyond maintaining those, those are maybe system expansion type projects. Those are going to be prioritized based on our data-driven decisions, or DDD tool, that uses goals such as increased safety, congestion mitigation, livability, environment equity, and all those things that are going to be able to help us ensure that we have investments where needed most. Illinois will also be able to compete for an additional $28.5 billion of federal funding for special discretionary programs. Those are competitive programs. And of that program, $12.5 billion of those funds will focus on bridge investments for economically significant bridges, while the remaining $16 billion will focus on major projects that will deliver substantial economic benefits. Northeast Illinois has several projects that fit the bill. As you all know, we are home to numerous major interstates that need reconstruction, as well as capacity improvements. that could reconnect communities and add technology to mitigate congestion. These are all factors that are going to make them eligible for numerous discretionary programs. And the corridors in this region, in Northeast Illinois, include I-290 from about Manheim Road to Racine Avenue, and I-55 from 355 to I-90-94. Beyond our highway and bridge projects, we are expected to also receive additional funding that will help us improve other modes of transportation, including $4 billion to improve public transportation, $66 billion for nationwide Amtrak passenger rail service improvements, $616 million for airport infrastructure, and then we're also expecting to receive about $149 million of funding to help expand our electric vehicle charging network. That's obviously a very growing and emerging technology area. Lots of interesting opportunities for sure. The department can also apply for an additional $2.5 billion in grant funding for electronic vehicle charging programs as well. And then suffice it to say, there's a ton of opportunities here in Illinois with the federal funding and the state funding. So what has IDOT been up to for these past 3 years since the Rebuild Illinois Capital Program was passed? Well, the state has invested over $6.4 billion on state and $2.1 billion in the local highway infrastructure. And that includes about 3,200 miles of state highway improvements, 200 bridge improvements, and over 400 safety improvements. On the local system, we have been able to improve over 1,100 miles of highways, improve over 200 bridges, and improve safety at about 200 locations. The exhibit here highlights a few of the bigger projects around the state. One that up here in Northeast Illinois is a $54 million improvement of I-55 at Illinois 59 down by Shorewood and Joliet area, involving a new interchange. And although my focus is on the state highways, because that's, I oversee that portion of the program, there are other, engineering, construction, and other support opportunities that apply to the local road system. And we've been talking about the state system, the local agencies and highways. So there's also those components, the local agencies, counties, municipalities. They will also be, they'll be getting increased funding and eligible to apply for grants, just like we are. Looking ahead, here's a snapshot of the department's current 2023 to 2028 6-year multi-year highway improvement program. It is a $24.6 billion program that includes about $18.8 billion for the state side improvements and almost about $5.78 billion for the local side improvements. This includes this basically is an $11.2 billion infusion and includes that infusion of those federal Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act funds that I mentioned earlier. And that number includes about $9.8 billion for highways and $1.4 billion for bridges. Of the $18.8 billion of stateside funds, this multi-year program is going to include about $6.4 billion to fix the roads and about $6.4 billion to fix our bridges, while a little over $2 billion is for system expansion, and then about $1.6 billion is for safety improvements. And again, it's important to point out that this exhibit summarizes the known planned funding expenditures and opportunities. What is not shown and what is not known is the opportunities that Illinois is going to benefit from by receiving a portion of those $28.5 billion that I talked about a little bit earlier of those competitive federal Illinois Infrastructure and Jobs Act, or IIJA, grant funds. We recently applied for several grants involving and focusing on Interstate 290 between Manheim and Racine, but we were not successful in getting those grants. However, we will continue to apply and look for new opportunities to advance that I-290 corridor. So that is that's an area where we're going to be focusing on within the next several years, with regard to grants, as well as our stateside investments, because that is an important corridor. It needs improvements, and it is something that's going to help make our future brighter. Of the roughly $24.6 billion statewide program, about $6.1 billion will be provided specifically to Region 1, the Northeast Illinois, the area that I am, where I work. And what's important to emphasize is that this multi-year program is literally more than double what the typical multi-year program would look like prior to all this new infusion of funding. We've literally doubled the number of billions that we are going to be able to spend in Northeast Illinois. This is unprecedented for me personally. I've been in IDA over 30 years, and it is unprecedented. It's an unprecedented amount of money being invested into the infrastructure. So it's an incredible time to be doing this, working in this business, and for all you folks, listening in. Here's a quick summary. I don't want to go through necessarily all of it, but here's some of the larger and more complex projects that are in the works and are going to be, in various stages of development right now. We have I-190, which is basically the interstate that accesses O'Hare Airport. That entire expressway, once you get off of I-90, in and out of the airport, needs to be rebuilt. There's bridges there, there's interchanges, all of that. That's a $500+ million investment that we're going to be making. I-90-94, the Kennedy Expressway, is going to be under construction. Actually, starting this year, we're going to be replacing the reversible lanes mechanism and gates and the technology that encompasses, and then rehabilitating the bridges and things like that. So that's going to be going on. We've got a big project, Illinois 43 at 65th Street, that we're working on, down by Bedford Park. 95th Street at Stony Island, a big intersection there. There's numerous railroad bridges that we're going to be working on, reconstructing that whole area. And that's a roughly $80 million investment. There's several I-290 bridges. I talked about I-290 a little bit earlier. We're investing some of our state money to start tackling some of the overhead bridges that are kind of low-hanging fruit, we'll say, that don't need, that can be replaced without doing more road mainline work. So we're going to be doing some investments in that. There's a bridge on Pershing Road, $44 million investment there. I-55 at Illinois 43. I-80, there's some improvements at I-294, and I'll talk more about I-80 in a minute. Ida B. Wells, we've got some bridge improvements, Willow Road reconstruction, Illinois 43 at the Sanitarian Ship Canal, some bridges there, and then Rand Road at the Des Plaines River, bridge improvement there. Down in DuPage County, we have a Route 56 corridor improvements that are going to be done, about $34 million worth. Kane County, there's a couple of US 20 corridors, or US 20 projects along the corridor from Shales to Randall Road. About 100 and what is the amount there? Well, about $100 million for one of the bridge, one part of it, and another $60 million for the interchange at Shales, and then 47 at US 30 is another $60+ million improvement. And then Lake County, several projects. 6083 is an ad lanes up there, over $100 million. 41 at 176 is a roughly $40 million, actually all in about $50 million, interchange improvement. 131 is about a $50 million improvement up there by Waukegan. And then the US 45, we're doing starting an ad lane from 132 to Washington Road. Illinois 120, we're starting a phase 1 study to do some improvements up by Grays Lake. McHenry, we've got a reconstruction and ad lanes along Illinois 31 up by McHenry, Illinois 47 reconstruction up by Woodstock, and then some Barrington Road improvements here by, actually not too far from my office here in Schaumburg. And then Will County, I-80, it's a signature project for Northeast Illinois. It's a $1.2 billion reconstruction improvement of I-80 from Ridge Road to US 30, numerous bridges, interchanges being reconstructed, improving safety and operations, really exciting project, and that's going on right now. Do several improvements along I-55 at Airport Lockport Road, Illinois 126, as well as Illinois 129, interchange in Lorenzo Road, and then US 52, some pad lanes down there in Will County, as well as Illinois 53, some improvements to safety and operations. You know, the department is committed to diversity of our own workforce and of those who work for us. We want to make sure that they reflect the diversity of Illinois, especially in the Chicagoland region. You know, this graphic shows a little bit of, it's a little bit outdated. We do professional transportation bulletins at IDOT, the PTBs. We do 4 per year, and then publish our projects and for engineering opportunities. And over the last, just picking the last 5 selections, which is about a year or so of data, we've been selecting 42% of the prime firms selected have been DBE firms. So we are committed to ensuring the growth and the expansion of our entire industry, and just making sure that that experience continues to grow. And so speaking of engineering firms and whatnot, there are roughly 400 engineering firms, and new ones being started, ones being bought out, and on a regular basis. It's a continually evolving kind of network of companies. Yet we keep hearing there is a shortage of engineers. Maybe that's partially true, but I think there's also there is capacity within the industry, because for every consultant who tells me that they can't hire enough people to work on the projects they have, I seem to hear an equal number of companies saying, "Hey, we need more work. We need something to keep ourselves busy." So what I think is going on is that we need to better balance and better utilize the industry. The key is going to be partnering. Consultants need to work together a lot more than they currently do. And even though some of the problems that could be is that there are some consultants and others that have more experience than others, but that's a great synergy, because then they can work together and do partner, mentor each other, and mix it up. If there's a lot of firms that work with the same partners, but perhaps there's opportunities here to work with different partners, to mentor different people. Some old partnerships can be strengthened, and others, new partnerships are, there's opportunities to forge new partnerships. One thing that I want to make sure that I point out, and that's important here, is that there's the resurgence of the Mentor Protege program. The Mentor Protege program, for those that are not familiar with it, is that a prime company can work with a subconsultant company, and the prime company can mentor that smaller firm in an area where they don't have a pre-qualification category or strength in. So we have a formal program, and it's focused on engineering aspects. All aspects of engineering, from construction, design, planning, materials, whatnot, engineering. All of that is covered. So about 8 years ago, most of IDOT's preliminary engineering, planning and design and others, were done with state funding, which gave us flexibility to use the Mentor Protege program, because it wasn't federally recognized. But however, due to dwindling state funding years ago, because we were just literally almost broke. We just didn't have enough money to kind of expand our program. We started using federal funds for engineering, and then so with the use of federal funds, the Mentor Protege program started to dwindle, and kind of people weren't using it as much because we couldn't use it as much. So we basically just people got forgot about it. But recently, last couple of years, we were able to, with all this increased funding, we've worked with our federal partners to acknowledge the Mentor Protege program that we have, and then there's a resurgence and a renewed interest and renewed opportunity for firms to work with those prime companies and start learning new skills, new categories, and start building their capacity by working together. So that Mentor Protege program is really a great tool for partnering, learning, and expanding our capacity. with, you know, kind of in the same vein here, IDOT has a ton of resources to help firms in the DBE program, the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Program. Actually, speaking of the DBE program, a disadvantaged business, I actually just was on a presentation recently, and I heard a really great way to talk about the DBE program rather than a disadvantaged business program. It's the diverse business engineering program, enterprise program. So I thought that was a really neat way to rethink that. But something that is coming up soon is that today's challenge, tomorrow's reward, TCTR 2023 conference, which focuses on providing educational and skill building workshops, lessons on best practices, and networking opportunities for firms in the disadvantaged or diverse business enterprise program and contractors wanting to do business with IDOT. The overall goal is to help advance a firm's skill set and knowledge to increase their competitiveness and opportunities for work on federally funded highway contracts. So so just a real quick overview, this has been going on for over 30 years. The conference has provided subcontractors, DBE firms, and prime contractors with valuable information. The presentations and workshops include estimating and bidding, project management, erosion control, advanced financing, social media marketing, and a ton more. So in addition, the Office of Business and Workforce Diversity's Support Services team will be attending and ready to assist certified DBE firms. So that gives an opportunity to connect with those folks that can provide more information and point to, more opportunities. The conference concludes with an award luncheon, and recognizing firms throughout the state, And that conference it's going to be held February 15th, this month, and it's at the Crown Plaza and Convention Center in Springfield. And that information, if you guys can get it here, but the PowerPoint presentation that Anita has and is going to share with you folks afterward, this slide is in there, so you'll have all that data. You can go ahead and you can register online, and I think there's both a in-person component as well as a virtual component. So maybe it might not work out to get there, but some of the presentations that will be done, from my understanding, will be made available virtually. Being sensitive to everyone's busy schedule, I need to wrap up the presentation, which leaves out some of the most important information, in my opinion, on how to find the opportunities on IDOT's website. It's a nice website and all, but boy, there's a lot of stuff, a lot of layers. It can be pretty daunting trying to find information. So as an added bonus, I developed 2 sets of slides, which are back to back, at the end of this presentation, that'll be made available as a PDF for the folks listening that are interested in it. The first set of slides will go over how you can find, track, and plan for construction and engineering opportunities within the multi-year program. So it gets you, a deep dive into that program, see what we're working on, what we're planning on. And then the second set will guide you to what we call the look aheads link, which was developed specifically at the request of industry and provides a nice summary of engineering and specifically engineering opportunities within the next year or so, about a little over a year. So it's kind of really focused near term. So both of those will provide great insights, help you provide and help you find the opportunities, because there are so many opportunities here. It's just a matter of finding them and then starting to connect and link up to them. So with that, I think I'm wrapped up here. Yep. Hold on a second. Yep. So with that, thank you for your time, and then we'll take any questions afterwards. Thanks.
Thank you, John. Appreciate that. And we do have your presentation that we will be sharing with attendees that includes the bonus information about accessing the portal, IDOT's portal, and gaining information with the schedules. Okay, we have some questions in chat we want to try to get to. I know we're over time, so thank you to those who are still on the line. Tony, are you still here?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll share a couple of the questions from the chat. The first one is for Charles, and the question reads, what credit score number does the SBA look for qualification for the 7A loan?
So because we have a lending partner with the 7A loan program, SBA does not set a minimum credit score, but the lending institution that you'll have to go through to get the 7A, they will probably have a minimum score. So the answer is it depends on which lending institution that you're going through.
Okay, thank you so much for that. There's a question here from Cassandra, and she's on the line. Maybe she can clarify. It's just asking, what is the new name? I'm not sure if that's in regard to what Rosalind shared with us. Not sure.
Yes, that's a Rosalind question.
Charlie, what is their new name? Charlie.
I'm not sure.
Okay, Rosalind, you got some research to do.
Yeah, I know that they changed, it's the Apex, I think it's Apex Accelerators or something like that. I think
Yes, that's correct.
that's it. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I see a lot of questions just asking for information to be shared and if the presentation will be shared. Nita, can you let the audience know if that will be, if this presentation will be shared?
Yes, all three presentations will be shared along with the survey that's sent out. So we will follow up with that this afternoon. Cassandra did have another question for Rosalind, I believe. She's asking, is it the highest officer paid or officer?
Which program was she referring to?
Cassandra, are you still on the line? Can you let us know which program you were referring to?
Hi. I understand the answer now. I think it was just, she said it was the highest, like you're the CEO, that could be the CEO and the highest paid, but I think it said highest position.
It's generally the president of the company.
Okay, the president, okay. And then it's
The
okay,
ownership, the person who owns the company.
great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Thank you,
And
Nita. There's a lot of conversation in the chat, so I'm trying to get to the actual questions. So please, if I miss something, please grab it. I know we have a little limited amount of time here, but I do see a question from Miguel. And Miguel is asking, in the infrastructure bill, is there technology-specific RFPs or coded in a way to, or coded in a way to search them?
And I mentioned we might have to research that a little further. John, do you have an answer?
Yeah, honestly, I don't know that because our focus is on the highway sides of stuff. I do know that there's money out there, but I don't know how they code that now.
Miguel, we would have to research that a little further. Tony, I do see a question it's from Vanessa and it's for Rosalind. The employees must live in the hub zone. She's asking that.
They at least 35% of the employees must reside in a hub zone in order for the company to be qualified for the hub zone certification.
Okay,
And it
thank you.
doesn't have to be in the area where the principal office is located, but at least 35%.
Thank you so much, Rosalind.
You're welcome.
I do see a question here from Mr. Greg Bush. First of all, he'd like to thank all of the presenters, but also asking a question to please share how RFPs or competition opportunities will be unbundled to smaller packages for our specialties to respond to. It says we don't have earth movers and cranes.
Yeah, no, it'll depend on, it's project specific, but there is absolutely going to be opportunities. For example, if we have a bridge, for example, I-80, there's a bridge. Maybe we need to move some earth. So maybe there's a contract to break out to move that earth. But there also could be a small contract for a bridge that maybe there's some work on the approach roadways for some walls or something like that, or sidewalk work or whatever. There's opportunities to break those projects into smaller pieces to be able to allow smaller firms to dive in. But, you know, I don't have a specific set of contracts. It's all kind of, you know, case by case and you know, and contract by contract, depending on where, you know, what the work is, you know, what the, what the type of work that needs to be done will be. And yeah, and so bottom line, we will be working to do that, to provide those smaller contracts, those opportunities to a more diverse group and you know, with less capacity. So yeah, we've done that in the past. We've done that on the last couple big projects. The Circle Interchange, folks that are in the highway business probably recognize that, you know, the downtown I-90, 94, 290, Congress Parkway, all converging downtown. That's been under construction for a long time. But we had many, that started out as 9 contracts and ended at 37 or 38 contracts. So that was a really good example of where we were, you know, went in with just a few contracts, broke those apart into smaller pieces, and then, you know, we're able to break, you know, and just, you know, spread that work around a lot more efficiently.
Thank you, John. And Nita, I know we probably only have time for a couple more questions, so I'll grab a couple more. And if everyone can just remember that the presentation will be shared. In addition, the presenters have provided their contact information for you to follow up. So we'll do a couple more questions. There's one from Jaquise, please forgive me if I mispronounce that. It says, we are a minority-owned fuel provider. How can we be a part of this project?
Do we know what project specifically?
No. I was hoping that maybe they could, you know, clarify. I can see that you're still there. The Jaquise Mullins, if you wouldn't mind giving a little bit more information.
Yeah, I'm sorry. The project that I'm making reference to is when you're talking about the infrastructure that's going to be revamped there in Illinois.
And so what was the question again? Could you get a?
We are a minority-owned petroleum fuel company, and we have the infrastructure already in place to be able to provide fuel. And we could, any of those projects that you have going, we could provide fuel for.
I gotcha. Yeah, I think that is a potential partnership with the contractors that with the earth, like, you know, the builders, the earth moving companies, you know, those are the folks that use that fuel. I don't actually, I'm not aware of us having any contracts specifically to provide fuel to them. They kind of get their own fuel. So that, you know, the key is to connect with the firms that do work in Illinois on these types of projects and start connecting with them, and you know, and maybe the TCTR could be a chance to start linking up with contractors and other folks that do business in Illinois, with IDOT specifically, and then other industry type venues might be an opportunity to be able to have those types of, you know, start making those connections.
How could I have? Is there any way I could perhaps get a copy of a list of some of those companies that you're working with like that?
I believe there. You know, I know there's a list of pre-qualified engineering firms for sure. So I know that exists. I am not sure on the contracting side what kind of lists there are, but I can certainly follow up and I could let Nita know, and then, you know, we could provide that. Or if you want to contact me offline, I could do some research and find out for you.
Okay, how could I contact you? I'm sorry.
Yeah, email john.basic, John. .basic, BAC as in cat, Z as in zebra, EK @illinois.gov.
Okay, I see a comment from Greg Bush saying, perfect example, buyers want the diverse spend credit. States should publish requirements and RFPs for it. So that is a comment. I see that we have, thank you all for staying on like you're doing. I see that we have Theo Joyner with us, who's an expert with DBE certification. Theo, do you want to chime in about fuel, the fuel question?
Well, I would say just like John, it's based upon the contractors and the subcontractors buying the fuel for their equipment that they're going to be using on that particular project. Because with IDOT, when IDOT buys fuel, one of the things that people have to do is go to the material division to make sure that the fuel that they're selling is the adequate fuel that IDOT wants to purchase. But outside of that, it's just the deals that people do with the contractors.
Okay, thank you for that. I'm sorry, Tony.
No worries. How much more time do we have for questions?
I think we have to cut it off now to respect the presenters and the audience. We've gone over now. We're almost at 1:30, so I think we should end the questions now. But we'll follow up. I see there's a question asking for John's email address again, so we will share that with the requester. Okay. All right, well, everyone, this concludes today's Lunch and Learn. We thank you for your time, spending your lunch with us to discuss this important topic. Please complete our survey that will be sent out later today to assist us in providing relevant content in the future. We invite you to visit our website, chicagomsdc.org, and follow us on social media for more events and information. We'd like to thank each of our presenters today, Charlie, Roslyn, and John. Thank you for providing such invaluable information to our audience. And we look forward to seeing your faces at upcoming events. Tony, my colleague, thank you so much for your assistance on today as well. Clifton, thank you for working behind the scenes.
Thank you, Nita, for having us.
My pleasure. Okay,
Thank
bye-bye,
you,
everyone.
Nita.
Thank you.